R&B diva, Shirley Murdoch. She's up next. Let's talk. What's up, everybody out there? How you doing? Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another video over here, another episode of Pepe's Point of View. I am yours truly, Pepe. I'm your R&B historian. All right, and we're talking about R&B divas, and the R&B diva I am talking about today, part 2 of Shirley Murdoch. That's right. I was able to reach inside of my collection and pull out a Shirley Murdoch record. The very best of Shirley Murdoch. That's right. Get Shirley on the phone. Shirley, we got to talk. I need to talk to Shirley. Get Shirley on the phone and let Shirley know we're talking about over here. And I have some questions, okay? As I told you before, I usually kind of hold back, simply because, but now there's no holding back. I'm pulling all the punches back. I promise you. But they're good. You know what I'm saying? It's all good over here. Which, let's talk about what I do over here for you new viewers. What do I do over here? Well, basically, I love R&B music. I love R&B divas, definitely. I love music, period. Just read the description. That's the description about what I do over here, how all of this came together. If you want to know about me, read it. It's at the, in the bottom of the video. Just read it. People still read, I believe. But anyway, and so pretty much what I do over here is that I enjoy R&B music, listen to my R&B divas, definitely. And, well, this gives me the opportunity to talk to now a broader, group of people, if you will, instead of just sitting back and talking to people who know me and they know this is what I like to do. So I decided, I was like, hey, let's, turn it into something. And so here it is. So basically what I do is I just listen to my records. That's what I do to get a feel for the R&B diva. I go back, listen to the music, and then I just started to discuss and kind of give my take. You can say it's a music review if you want to. That's fine. But we don't dig around in people's trash. That's not what I do. If there's anything that's kind of controversial, I pretty much talk about it if it has something to do with the release of the album. Prime example. If you watch my Kelly Price's video, then I talked about the legal things going on at the time when she released her debut album, Soul of a Woman. Well, that was relevant to the album because I felt like, her and all the legal things that was going on with her record company at the time, T-Neck Records, so on and so forth. I think it kind of hindered, sales of the record. I think she could have sold more than 1 million records with Soul of a Woman. So that's the reason why I talked about those legal things, as it relates to the album. But other than that, it is what it is. You understand what I'm saying? Whew. So let's just go ahead on and dive into this Shirley Murdoch. I told you all that what I wanted to do at the end of the part 1 is that I felt so good and loved the album Let There Be Love so much so that I felt like Let There Be Love needed to have its own video. So that's what I'm doing. We're talking about the making of an R&B diva, all right? Shirley. Let me recap some of the things in the first video because I want to get a feel of where I'm about to go. All right. Just like Sherelle, all right? Sherelle to me is an R&B diva who came in with a sound. Okay, you could call it what, the Minneapolis sound, with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. And right off the bat, it worked for her, that sound. Well, we know that with her branching out, wanting to work with different producers, well, she no longer had that sound. Do I have my Sherelle album over here? My Sherelle album is over here somewhere. And so she abandoned that sound, if you will. And I think what she tried to do, Sherelle, is that she probably tried to expand the sound. And she worked with someone such as Anita, Michael Wall, and so on and so forth. And I'm not going to say it didn't work for her. I think a lot of things came into play with this album, even though it's not a great album. But I do think songs such as Never in My Life and Tears of Joy should have done better on the charts. But we're not talking about Sherelle. We're talking about Shirley Murdock. But the point that I'm trying to make is that Sherelle is an R&B diva that came in with a sound because of her producers. It wasn't that she just worked with some producers and put out some great music. That's not the case with Sherelle. Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis was right there. So an R&B diva such as Shirley Murdock, she comes in to me with a sound. She has a sound. And that's because of Zapp and Rogers, okay? Or Zapp and Roger, all right? Zapp. We're going to talk about that. Okay. I know, y'all. I know. Now, what was happening before Shirley Murdock came onto the scene? Well, there was Zapp and Roger, right? And they came out in the early part of the 80s, the beginning part of the 80s, right? And so Zapp and Rogers, they were able to create a sound, right? For themselves. And that sound is known as funk and electro. What more bounce to the ounce, do I diddy. Of course, we know Computer Love, what I Can Make You Dance. All of those songs, it was a very popular sound. Zapp and Rogers, it was a popular group, duo, if you will. And so they racked up quite a few gold records for themselves and some hit songs. And Shirley Murdock is an R&B diva who finds herself right in the mix of that. Okay, it's 1986. She's in the middle of all of the success that Zapp and Rogers have been able to cultivate for themselves. And I feel as if Shirley Murdock benefited from that, and naturally so. So you have these hit producers, singer-songwriters, if you will. Shirley Murdock comes in, and I would like to think, this is just me, about what was going on in my life and my surroundings at the time when listening to Zapp and Rogers and when Shirley Murdock came out. Well, your parents had this music in their house, right? And it was quite natural to hear, like, wait a minute, the lady on Computer Love, that's Her As We Lay. So now we get Zapp and Rogers, and we identify with Shirley Murdock through that, so that audience automatically embraces her. It just is what it is. Now, remember in my first video, I made the comment that while I don't like the entire album, Shirley Murdock's first album, I don't like the entire album, meaning that, well, let's just say I don't like it. But guess what? It's an album that I can play from beginning to the end. I can do that. Why? Because of the sound. Do you understand what I'm saying? That music can be played in clubs and people can sit back. It doesn't matter because of, that sound from Zapp and Rogers. So we can just go ahead on and embrace it. A person such as myself can embrace it. So when songs such as We Lay and Go On Without You, comes, is played in the clubs or whatever, it just only enhances what we're already feeling and vibing, right? Whew. But here's the issue. Who is Shirley Murdoch, right? I still say, when we're talking about Shirley Murdoch, what category do we put her in? It- so when I think about what category we put her in, I think about another R&B diva who I've talked about, who I felt like, I'm sorry, I'm looking through some of my albums or covers. I think about Phyllis Hyman. Because if you guys remember my Phyllis Hyman video, Clive Davis is trying to turn Phyllis Hyman into a pop diva. And I don't blame him. You understand what I'm saying? I don't blame him. It just didn't work. It didn't work for a whole lot of reasons. Okay. And so finally, when she hooks up with some producers who gives her sound, Gamble and Huff, who pretty much with the Living All Alone album all the way up to, her last record, she has that sound and it works. A person such as myself embraces her. The problem that I felt like that really fell through when it came to Phyllis Hyman's career was that no one thought about the fact that maybe her audience, her core audience, her core fans, was probably those who like those dance songs, such as You Know How to Love Me and Don't Want to Change the World. I'm one of those people. When I first heard Don't Want to Change the World, I was like, oh yeah, this is my record. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so just imagine if Phyllis Hyman released more songs like that. Like if Phyllis Hyman was to release 2-3 songs like that on every album, and then give us that smoky feel that she gives us with songs like Living All Alone and Living in Confusion and all of those other songs, then she would have definitely racked up more hits and more sales. I would like to think so. That's just my opinion. So she eventually gets a sound. We're talking about Shirley Murdoch and the making of an R&B diva. So what category do we put Shirley Murdoch in? You want to stick around for this because we're going to talk about some things. Is she electro? Is she funk? Is she R&B? Is she jazz? Is she soul? Like, what is she, musically? And now she's gospel. And that's fine. I don't think she's all over the place, even though that could be something that I'm alluding to, but I don't think she's all over the place. I just feel as if record companies, maybe management, whomever, they failed her miserably. And when I talk about this Let There Be Love video album, you're going to probably say, I never thought about it that way. And these are just my thoughts and my perspective. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just giving you some things to think about. I could be totally off, but it's my world, right? I encourage you to leave some comments and tell me what you think. So now going back to Zapp and Rogers, racking up the hits, the gold records. Shirley Murdoch's first album goes gold. It's 1986. I think she went on tour with Luther Vandross. I believe she did. Then 1987 comes, in 1988. She releases 1988's A Woman's Point of View. Now, oh gosh, this is when things start to get kind of confusing to me. And this is where, if Shirley, if you're still there and you're watching, then we need to talk. I have some questions now. Okay, just follow with me. I want y'all to understand something. I'm going to show you something. 1988, Vesta for you. 1988. 1988, Karen White. Okay, I'll pull this one out. 1987, Natalie Cole, Everlasting. Do I have any more? I'm going somewhere. Do y'all see where I'm going? I hope y'all see where I'm going. I hope y'all see where I'm going. 1988. 1988. What year is this? 1986. I don't know. But do you see where I'm going? Just with those albums. Do you see? Well, if you don't see where I'm going to tell you where I was going. 1988 is definitely, I feel like, a breakthrough year in the music industry. Right? Let me pull out. Do I got? Hold on. I'm gonna show you. I think I might have it. Yeah, there you go. Right here. This guy right here. Teddy Riley. Guy. 1988. 1988. Guy. Teddy Riley. He is coming on to the scene, right? It's been around, but now we're about to get a new sound. Remember what I told you about the Zapp and Rogers sound? We love it. We're embracing it. Shirley Murdoch is smack dab in the middle of it now. It's 1986. She releases her album, great, successful. Then 1988 comes up into play. And I wish I had more albums out. I don't want to look for them, waste of time. But notice there's a transformation that is happening with my R&B divas. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm noticing it, right? I've already talked about Sheena Easton. And you remember Sheena Easton went through that transformation and she got slammed by critics who was like, and if you think about it, right or wrong, she got slammed by them, basically, look, I mean, really, she's a Bond woman for your eyes only. She got all these pop hits and you're going to bring her down to R&B Diva-tude? How dare you do that to a pop diva? Hence the sarcasm in that. But it worked. And I love that album. She needs to love her and me. Oh gosh. But I guess what I'm trying to get people to see, maybe they didn't notice it and never thought about it. There's this transformation that is happening in music. And people are on the bandwagon. People are on the bandwagon. They are going to, these R&B divas are going to switcheroo on us quickly. They're gonna do that switcheroo. They're gonna go into that transformation that an R&B diva such as a Shirley Murdoch, for whatever reason, Shirley Murdoch just doesn't do that. Are y'all following where I'm going? And Shirley, that would be my first question to you. Shirley? Oh, Shirley. That would be my first question. Wait a minute. Hold on. Yeah, that would be my first question to you, Shirley. Why didn't you? Why didn't you transform or reinvent yourself? And maybe there was no need to. Maybe in your camp, you was like, when I have Zapp and Rogers, they're my producers, very popular producers. We're coming off of a great record. It's a great sound that we have. And they go in. But notice something, though. You don't get the same sound. You get the Zapp and Rogers sound, but you don't get the same sound. Like when I hear the second albums from a woman's point of view, I'm like, okay, yeah. You remember what I was saying in the previous video? Okay, As We Lay, husband. Like Shirley, I understand you was talking about, As We Lay, but now you trying to have some morals in this thing, Shirley. Listen, like, as I said, is this the same man that you slept with the first time? I know this is alleged, but we ain't saying Shirley did that. I'm just saying, she's the singer, so that's why I'm saying it that way. But I'm like, okay, Shirley, is this the same man now you turning him down, or you turning down a new man? Say, listen, Desire says I should, but I say no, right? So it's kind of like, but if you listen to the song Husband, while the message is still there, the oomph is not in the record. Do you understand that same passion that she had with a song such as We Lay? She doesn't sing it with that same passion and conviction of Husband. And to me, the album seems to kind of it's like, for whatever reason, somebody tones it down. So she's not coming out of the speakers like we're used to hearing her. So that's the first thing. The next thing is, as I said before, it's the sound. The sound is changing. I remember Shirley saying once before that there was not enough room on radio for her, and for her music. And at first I was thinking about, well, maybe she's talking about it from an R&B singer's perspective. She sings R&B music. But I'm also wondering, well, these other divas, they was being played like heavily. Yeah. Well, we know Karen White was being played, but do you understand what I'm saying? They're being played heavily. But Shirley isn't. Which goes back to what category, Shirley, was they putting in your music? Putting your music in. So the first question I have for Shirley Murdoch, I would say, Shirley, why didn't you transform? Why didn't the producers, or did you show up before the new sound? Was your record released in the early parts of the 1988? You see, so let me see here. I just want to know, because I didn't think about that. So let me see, Shirley. Let me see. Well, the album was released in the middle of 1988. So if the album was released in the middle of 1988, then is it safe to say that that sound had already, where's my guy album? I just had it. And now I don't. But it's fine. But is it safe to say that the sound was already there? Oh, God, where did you go? Here it is. When was this album released? Does it say the month? No, it doesn't say the month. But anyway, I think you guys understand where I'm going. So was you keeping your ear to the ground, Zapp and Rogers? Or was they just banking on the fact that, well, we have a sound, it's working for us, and let's continue to do? So then we can't say that, because Guy, if we're looking at it from that perspective, see, I'm asking questions. So Guy comes in and releases their album at the same time in the middle of 1988, just like Shirley Murdoch. So I guess maybe that theory is out the window. Maybe it's not so much that. So then what we have to do, then if we're thinking about Guy, right, and I said it's Teddy Riley, right? Hold on, y'all. I got another person I want to bring out. I think I have him over here. All right, just hold on. Now, bear with me. Like I said, this is a discussion. We are discussing this together, because I think I have another person I want to bring up in this. I thought I had his album. I should have his album in here. If not, I'm going to be, I got that man's album. Where is it? Ooh, Q is not in here. I don't believe it. I know I have this album. I don't know where it went to. I know I have it, but anyway, I'm not going to sweat it, but I'm going to bring her picture up. Just because. I'm going to bring her picture up. Pebbles. I'm bringing Pebbles' picture up simply because I'm talking about L.A. Reid and Babyface, right? Or I could do Karen White. Do you understand what I'm saying? Understand where I'm going? So these guys are coming into the picture. These producers are showing up, and they are coming in with a fresh sound. And it's safe to say then, if my theory is correct, that maybe some of the R&B divas that look like they're going through this transformation, that are having these hit records, if you understand what I'm saying, maybe Shirley gets lost in the shuffle because maybe her album is right on point. Do you understand what I'm saying? Maybe her second album is right on point. But she gets lost in the shuffle when these R&B divas come out with a different sound. They're coming out with different sounds. It's the sound right now that I want us to pay attention to. It's the sound. It's the sound. These divas are coming out with different sound. I know this is 1990 here. We can do A'ngela Winbush again. We can do Miss Chalet. You see what I'm saying? These divas, they're coming out with these different sounds. And it's around the time that her album is being released. So maybe that's what happens to her, right? That it's something that maybe she didn't go through the transformation because the transformation hadn't taken place yet. And then the question you have to ask yourself, you have to say, well, Patti, what she had, because Shirley Murdock, I like her. You know, she's a great R&B diva. And we could put her in the category of all of these singers, right? We could put her, you know, right there with all of these other divas, you know. I'll just get some. We could put her up there with these other divas, can't we? We could do that. But here's the thing. But when you look at albums, like the actual albums, the concepts of the albums, the look, Shirley Murdock does not fall into that category. She doesn't. She doesn't fall into that category. She's not doing these things. She's not dressing like these R&B divas. At this time in 1988, with the woman's point of view, she's not doing any of those things. And a person such as myself, during that time, a music lover who's loving music, who's glued into the television set, guess something else that I'm noticing that I don't see when it comes to Shirley Murdock? Promotion. I don't see her on BET. And she could have. I just probably missed that episode, but still. I don't see her on BET. I don't see her on Soul Train. I don't see her on Arsenio Hall shows. Like, I don't see her. Television, I don't. And if she has released singles, other singles besides Husband, on from a woman's point of view, then they're not being promoted. They're not getting, you know, a lot of airplay. And there's not a video. So there's a lot of things that I would like to think now in my head as I look at the total picture when it comes to Shirley Murdock. It's just the things, it looks like maybe what probably should have worked for her, an album that should have been a great album, an album that should have taken off, just isn't happening because these other divas are coming in and they are definitely transforming themselves. You know, they're coming in with a different sound, more of an, they're coming in like, okay, we need these up-tempo sounds. We need these, you know, these ballads. Like we need these things. And we have producers like, as I said, like Guy, like LA and Face and all these other producers who are listening to what is going on and saying, hey, we need to change this. And Zapp and Rogers are doing it their way. They're toning down the sound. But to those such as myself, as I said before, I can listen to a Shirley Murdock album, the first one from beginning to end, and not like all of the songs. It's the sound that I love and like. So when she strays away from that with the second album, we also lose interest. Just food for thought. So now let's get into the album, Let There Be Love. I'm trying to think, do I want to do that just now? Did I cover everything? I don't want to go back on that. I don't want to harp on her being preachy, if you will. I think I brought that up. Like the songs, the way we see her, we've put her in a box already as far as her, you know, being a woman of integrity, you know, integrity, morals. I don't want to necessarily say, well, we will always know Shirley for that song, right? As We Lay. As good as the song is, yeah, I'm going to skip that one. I'm going to skip that one. Sorry. But we still need to talk about now what I would like to still call that transformation of Shirley Murdock reinventing herself. So we get Let There Be Love. It's 1991. In Your Eyes. It's released. Now, there are some things that are definitely working for Shirley at this time. In 1989, during the latter part of 1989, guess what's happening? Another, well, let's just say a soul man by the name of Luther Vandross has released Here and Now. It's a huge song, Here and Now is. And Luther Vandross has released that Greatest Hits album. That single is out, is doing well. People are loving the song. And they are identifying the song with, you know, marriage and weddings, right? Because it's the latter part of 1989, that means that song goes into all of 1990 and is still being played. So when Shirley Murdock comes out in 1991 with a song such as In Your Eyes, it's like, oh, we got the male perspective. Now we have the female perspective. We have a soul man perspective. And now we have an R&B divas perspective. I like it. I like the fact that these two songs, these two R&B artists, unknowingly, but it's definitely, to me, a perfect blend of two songs at the right time. And it's like they are just basically intertwined, together. It's a perfect marriage of these two songs. Definitely love it. I can see the groom as the bride is coming down, and they're playing Here and Now, and then the bride, I guess, as they're walking out, could be playing songs such as In Your Eyes. You see what I'm saying? It's just a perfect marriage of the two. So that's working for Shirley, I think. When we see it, we don't cringe at all at this concept. Now, there was another group that jumped on the bandwagon with this song that looked like it could have been a wedding song, and I just kind of like, oh, I love it, but it's just, you can tell when something is kind of forced. I don't feel like this song was forced at all. So that's the first thing that's working for an album such as Let There Be Love. In Your Eyes. It's a huge, huge song for her on the R&B charts. But once again, Shirley Murdock, for whatever reason, she changes her sound. But when you hear the whole album, you still get that Roger Troutman, that Zapp and Rogers feel. That sound is still there. She's not abandoning the sound at all. And one could argue, baby, Shirley, it's a little too late to try to reinvent yourself, because these other R&B divas that did it in 1988 and 1999, that year is gone. Those years are gone. Right? You have new R&B divas. Where are they? You have new R&B divas now who are emerging. Right? Right? You have new R&B divas. Well, you could call it pop, but still, this is what you're competing with now, Shirley. You're competing with this. But I don't mean like this, like a disrespectful like this, but you see what I'm saying. You're competing with these R&B divas. You feel me? You're competing with the likes of them. And you're competing with, why is this album? It's 1981. And even someone such as a Jodie Watley in 91. This is her album, Affairs of the Heart, in 1991, I believe. Even she is going to struggle a little bit with album sales. But you're competing with this. I guess what I'm trying to convey to you, get a feel of, is that I feel like somehow or another Shirley Murdock is being lost in the shuffle. And her record company, Elektra Records, what it is, in my opinion, they're not promoting her. And whoever her management is, not doing a good job with management. That's just my opinion, based off what they could have possibly done with her career, with her music. And I feel as if everyone dropped the ball with this Let There Be Love album, because once again, an artist such as a Shirley Murdock could have been a trendsetter, or she could have gone into a genre of music that looks as if they would have embraced her if she stayed there. Where is that? I'm glad you brought that up, because that's what we're talking about. So when I hear the second song, Stay With Me, it's just another R&B song to me, right? It's a great song, just another R&B song, great song on the album. But then I get to that third song, which is the title of the album, Let There Be Love, and I am ready to groove again, because notice what I said, you don't get that up-tempo stuff from her. So when you finally get it and you get Let There Be Love, and then they decide to make it a dance track. And remember, Zapp and Rogers is electro funk. And I'm still saying in my previous video, I don't know, Shirley, I get the feeling that you like Shining, like let the music play. So when you bring out a song like Let There Be Love, do you see in my head, I'm saying to myself, that works. I love Let There Be Love. And I don't know all of the songs that was released off this album. I don't know. But I will say, it's a shame, and I'm shaking my finger at the record company. I'm shaking my finger at Electra Records, and I'm saying, surely this song, Let There Be Love, could have been a dance hit. And just imagine the life that would have happened with this album or with this song if it was turned into a dance song, and how it could have been remixed and everything, and we could have gotten a whole total different Shirley Murdock. Imagine that being a huge dance record, or just in the clubs, going to #1, top 20, whatever, on the dance charts. That song would have been embraced. I'm pretty sure it would have been embraced by, the dance community, the LGBTQ community. Like, it would have been embraced in that, if in fact that song would have been released on the dance charts. Yeah. And for whatever reason, the record companies didn't do that. Drop the ball with a song such as Let There Be Love. I love it. I love Let There Be Love. Let There Be Love also sounds like, to me, it sounds like Whitney Houston's Love Will Save the Day. Do you see where I'm going with that? But they didn't do that for Shirley. And now that it crossed my mind, I'm going to bring up another thing that I've noticed about Shirley's career, and it's her videos. When she did, do a video, the videos was very dark and gloomy. Not a lot of lighting. I don't know why they decided to make her videos that way. And you can tell in a video such as In Your Eyes, like the suit she had on, you could tell that she was definitely fit. Like maybe she had trimmed down some weight or so on and so forth. But she definitely looked good in the video, In Your Eyes, but yet she's still covered up. Like, Shirley Murdock definitely is not your TNA singer. And she can sing, but sometimes we get some R&B divas who don't mind giving you a little bit of TNA. It's just what it is, but we're not being disrespectful. But what I'm saying is that Shirley Murdock, as I said, she's not that singer. Interesting. Then we get to the next song, Last Hurrah. Love it. I love the song Last Hurrah because it's definitely worthy. Like In Your Eyes and Let There Be Love, Last Hurrah is definitely a song that is worthy of to be released off the album. It's worthy of being a single to me. I'm going to say this because in my head, I'm thinking like, okay, if it's worthy of a single, how well do you think a song such as Last Hurrah would chart? How high would it chart? And I'm saying in my head, I'm saying to myself, it would chart as high as the money behind it, the promotion behind it. I'll put it to you that way. But I really and truly think that this song could have been a single. And if the record companies was behind her, she could definitely have, racked up another hit. Then, oh, I forgot the song also after Let There Be Love. There's another song called Say It, Mean It. Love it. Still Preaching. It's one of my favorite songs on the album. You know, I'm always going to, if I'm going to listen to Shirley Murdoch's Let There Be Love, you better believe I'm going to listen to the song Say It, Mean It. I am. I just like it. Okay. Definitely. But then we get to the song We Should Be Together. And in my head, I'm saying again, favorite song, like the number one song, favorite song on the album. We Should Be Together. I love it. That's the standout track to me that's on this album. But I'm saying in my head again, it's right up there with Let There Be Love. Like this definitely should be, you know, again, where Shirley Murdoch is reinventing herself again. But she's been placed in a box probably by her record companies. And it looks as if when these songs that are released don't live up to maybe the As We Lay song, then it's kind of like, okay, we're not interested. It didn't do what we thought it was going to do. Instead of saying, okay, wait a minute, we might be on to something here. You know, my opinion. And then we have the song Anywhere. Oh my gosh. All I have to tell you is that my sister and I, when it came down to the song Anywhere, we would sing and we would sing our hearts out with Anywhere. Love it. Love the song Anywhere. Anywhere definitely makes me think of Anita Baker. And speaking of Anita Baker, do I have that album? Do I have that album? I'm sure I do. Yeah, see? I got it. Compositions. So Anita Baker's Compositions album, all right, was released in 1990. This is definitely, Let There Be Love is, I guess you could say, the B-side of Compositions. This is definitely Anita Baker's album, except for maybe the last 3 songs on the album, Let There Be Love. The last 3 songs on Let There Be Love, but the first 7 is definitely Anita Baker. I can see Anita Baker releasing this as an album. I can. And you just continue to shake your head like Electra Records, like, what is going on with you guys in Shirley Murdoch? And then track 8. When I hear songs such as Everywhere, in my head I'm saying, this is a great pop song. It's a nice pop song. And why is it that the record companies and the management then say, wait a minute, hold on. Let's see if we can get this song placed on a movie soundtrack somewhere. Like just put in a movie. Maybe not in the soundtrack, but in a movie. Some kind of, cheesy, like, I'm just throwing out, even though it wasn't out at the time, but like some kind of cheesy, Legally Blonde type movie. You understand what I'm saying? Like, why is it that they didn't decide, like, let's kind of put this and see where we can, get some, traction with a movie soundtrack with this song, Everywhere. It's this wonderful, nice, playful song, very pop song that looks like, it could have done something on the pop charts. Who knows how high it would have, performed. But we're talking about expanding Shirley Murdoch's audience as well as, reinvented herself. And now that I'm approaching the 50-minute mark with this, I guess that's what I would have to ask Shirley. I'll say, Shirley, you had all of the opportunities to reinvent yourself and you didn't. So I'm thinking about titling this video, Let There Be Shirley. Because when I read reviews regarding other R&B divas or just artists in general, and I come across this line. It's very cliche as it is nowadays when someone says, oh, well, she is definitely in a category of her own, or he is definitely in a category of his own. Shirley Murdock definitely falls into that because she doesn't, it seems like she's not fitting in at all in any of these things. So in my head, I can kind of see, going back to that TD Jakes comment, when he said, hey, listen, Shirley, in the pop world or in the music world, the secular world, she's known as the church girl, the church woman. And now she's over here in the, gospel, and you guys looking at her as a secular singer. Do you see? And I guess that's where I'm going with all of this. Like, I have to ask Shirley. I would say, Shirley, who is Shirley Murdock? Like, who is she? Who's that girl? Who's that diva? Who is she? And is she, the woman of integrity? Is that Shirley Murdock? You know what I'm saying? Like, is she really and truly, as we lay singer, the woman who really and truly discusses these, the taboo topics, if you will? Is she that lady, that singer? Who is she? I would like to know. Because this is probably, out of all of the R&B divas I've covered, I would have to say that Shirley Murdock is probably the one that is just really and truly the one that is kind of hard to read. Just hard to get a feel for as far as musically is concerned. And I think it's because, and this is just me, I think she's a hard read is because I just really and truly think Shirley is just being Shirley. And she is doing her thing, as we would call it. She is performing, doing what she, oh my gosh, hold on for a second. Oh gosh, don't end on me, please. Hold on for a second. About that, I was about to lose power because I was just noticed. I was like, oh man, this whole thing was about to shut down. But anyway, she's just busy being Shirley, and I think that that's the reason why she's a hard read. She's a hard read because you get what you get. There's no pretense. She's not pretending, anything like that. Like, what you get is what you get with Shirley Murdock. So she didn't reinvent herself. She didn't transform. There was no need to. And maybe, who knows, maybe, record companies it was difficult for them to kind of place her in a particular category, but it looks as if when they had the opportunity to do that, they just didn't do it. Yeah. I don't know. But thank you, Shirley. Thank you, Shirley, for some great music. Oh, yeah. Thank you for great music. You're definitely a part of the soundtrack of my life. You are definitely that. Oh my gosh. The producer's note. I didn't think about it. In the midst of all of the new jack, funk, rap, and new wave dance stylings of the 1980s, surfaced a rare brand of R&B we hadn't seen in a while. Real, gut-wrenching soul, strong, powerful pipes, passion. And the woman responsible for this, her name was Shirley Murdock. Enjoy. Barry, Rockberry Benson. That's it. Yeah, I think it's true. I really do. I really do. I really do. That's it. It's the voice. Like we would know Shirley Murdock by the hits that she had, but also the voice. But I believe on this note, um, for those of you who have followed Shirley Murdock's career, then you know she sings gospel now. And as I was listening to her music, her three secular albums, I would definitely say this. I would say, Shirley, I hope, I just hope, and I think you recently, maybe as of last year, was in a concert with a few R&B divas. You were. I don't want to say their names because I could miss some or miss out. Uh, but with some R&B divas. Let me see real quick. I thought so. Yeah, in California. I thought it was in California. I just wanted to make sure. So it was Shirley Murdock, Sherelle, Evelyn Champagne King, and A'ngela Winbush. I thought so. I just didn't want to say it because I didn't know. But you guys had performed in Beverly Hills. And when I saw that you were on the bill, Shirley Murdock was on the bill, I was really happy. And this is where I'm going to end it by simply saying, I hope she's still singing these songs as well, simply because these messages definitely coincides with the gospel. So when a song such as Say It, Mean It, do you understand what I'm saying? In Your Eyes, As We Lay, these songs are definitely songs that, you know, you can still sing and embrace, and you can even change them up and make them gospel songs now, you know. So I hope that you're still singing these songs. Who knows? Maybe one day I get to see you in concert. I've never seen Shirley Murdock perform at a concert. I've never been to a Shirley Murdock show at all. Never. But anywho, on that note, this is pretty much where I end the video. Yeah. Let there be love. I like the ring of that. Well, if you made it this far, then I think it's appropriate for me to go ahead on and ask you to stick around with me by hitting that subscribe button, hitting that like button, leaving a comment, sharing it. You know, I appreciate it. You know, talking about R&B divas over here. And I would definitely like to have you around, and I definitely appreciate your support. And wherever I leave my mother's presence, she always says to me, she says, baby, remember, I love you, but God loves you best. And that's what I'm saying to you guys out there. I love you guys. Once again, thank you for your support. Make sure you're taking care of yourselves and that you are putting your behind where your heart desires to be. That's right. Do you, baby. And on that note, I'm looking forward to seeing your next video. And until then, you know what to do. Take care of yourselves. All right.